If you are trying to buy a home in the Twin Cities, it can be wildly frustrating and wildly confusing sometimes. A home will hit the market, sell in multiple offers, over asking price, and be gone in 3 days. Meanwhile, a house 10 minutes away, virtually the same house, hits the market, lands with a thud, takes 2 price reductions, and sells 97 days later. Why? How? That is what we are going to talk about in this video, because this market leaves clues, and if you know how to read those clues, you are in a much better position not only to get yourself that house you want, maybe even get a deal. So I just want to set this video up a little bit for you and tell you what we have in store for you today. I'm going to chat a little bit about the Twin Cities real estate market, how it functions and how it operates, specifically some things you're going to want to keep in mind if you are trying to buy into this market. From there, we're going to talk a little bit about ways you can spot a deal, and you're going to want to stick around to the end because I'm going to get into 4 very specific offer strategies that I have used with great success with my own clients in this market, so you have an actionable takeaway. This is not going to be a deep data dive in this video. This is going to focus more on practical advice, things you can walk away and use right away. My name is Chris, by the way, if we have not met. Contact information is all right here. It is also down below. One of the biggest mistakes I see out-of-staters and locals even make is they talk about the Twin Cities market like it's all one thing. And sadly, nothing could be further from the truth. And if you look at the Twin Cities with one statistic or through the lens of one specific part of the market, the odds are you are not getting the complete picture, and you're probably going to be operating with an inconsistent and offset of data. So let's chat about this a little bit. The first thing to understand is the Twin Cities market is big, and it absolutely does not behave like just one area. So the first thing you have to understand is location. Where you are in the Twin Cities can make a massive difference in just how fast the property moves. And here's an example for you, dealing with some hyper locality. I had 2 homes last weekend I put up for sale. One was in Chanhassen's Long Acres neighborhood. If you're local, you know that is the place to be in Chanhassen. The other home was literally a mile west, technically in Excelsior, in a neighborhood called Tristan Heights. Long Acres went up for sale at $825,000 and was in multiple offers and sold over asking price in less than 24 hours. The property in Tristan Heights currently has about a week on market, got about 10 showings, and all the buyers passed on it. It's the same builder on these homes. They are almost identical. They are the same size. They are a mile apart. One went like that, and the other one is still sitting there. So location can matter a ton. And when I say location, you can see it here, I'm talking about even just a mile or so apart. Another big thing when to consider to move quickly is going to be looking at the school district. Now, as a real estate agent, I have to be very careful with what I say here, but there are tools out there for you to do research on these school districts. Betterschooldistrict.org, niche.com, things like that, where you can get an idea, just some basic Google searches, of course. But what I can tell you is, when you get these homes in premium school districts, and when we're talking about the West Metro, we're really talking about 3 big school districts. We are talking about Wayzata, Minnetonka, and Edina. People move to these suburbs specifically for those school districts, right? So if you're looking in one of these places, everything that we just talked about holds up. We're in a prime location. We've got a home that is priced right, moved in ready. Expect these homes to go quickly. School districts are a big driver of not only price, but just how fast and how desirable these homes go, specifically here in the West Metro. The last piece of the puzzle, I think, is a bit more applicable to real estate at large, probably not as much to the Twin Cities. But the other thing you need to keep in mind as far as when to move quickly is keep in mind the market, the rate environment, the financial situation. Taxes are going up. Homeowners insurance is going up. Home prices are going up. Buyers are extremely price sensitive. And what I tell my own clients is right now in this market, if you put your home for sale and you get the price right, chances are you're going to do very well. You might get multiple offers, get yourself 10, 15, maybe 20 grand more than you're asking for. If you overshoot the mark and price that home too high, nowadays the first showing of your home happens online. Buyers can see in an instant if you are overpriced, and they're going to pass on you. So buyers want homes that are priced right and they want homes that are move-in ready. Buyers are not interested in spending $500,000 on your home and then moving in and spending another 50, 60 to 100,000 to bring it up to par with where they wanted. In 2021, when they had a 2.9 or 3% interest rates, buyers were willing to bite off projects. That is much less the case now. So, when should you move fast? When you get to that home and it is move-in ready. The less that needs to be done, the more turnkey that property is. Expect it to move quickly. And when you start stacking this, you start stacking them with premium suburbs, Edina, Minnetonka, Wayzata, places like that. Start stacking them with premium school districts and get those move-in ready homes. These are the ones, understand, that are going to go very quickly off the shelf, and you need to have your ducks in a row and move quickly. And by quickly, I mean probably 24 to 48 hours. These homes do not sit around. So the Twin Cities market is really the strongest in the single family home department. You will find townhomes and condos are tracking almost double the time on market compared to these single family homes. There are places downtown Minneapolis, with the exception of the North Loop, where you can get yourself a heck of a deal on a condo at the moment. The other factor is simply going to be price range. And what we're seeing here in the Twin Cities market at the moment is that 350 to 500-ish price range. I would call that kind of the bread and butter price point. It might seem like a lot of bread and butter depending on where you're coming from. But that $350,000 to $500,000 price range, that is the price range where there are still the most buyers. That price range is hot, and that price range is getting, at the moment, 99.2% of list price. So it's doing very well. That's where the market is strongest. Single family homes in that $350,000 to $500,000 price point. As you get over that $500,000 price point, you get into more expensive homes, and we're going to get into this in more detail here in a moment. But what you're going to find is buyers get more and more picky the more you climb in price. And if you are a buyer, that likely means you have a bit more time. There are certain expectations that come with higher price homes. I had a seller 2 years ago who went on market at $1.2 million, and he had just put new siding all the way around his home, which was no doubt an expensive cost for him. And he asked me if I thought we could list his property higher because he just resided it. And my answer was no. And here's why. People are not buying a home for $1.1 million and expecting to have to go reside it, especially in this market. That's the point. The higher the price goes, the more these buyers expect homes to be buttoned up and ready to go. Well, the flip side of this coin, and the one probably more of you are excited to know the answer to, is, well, how do I get a deal, or what is my opportunity to slow down, have more negotiating power in this market? How do I set myself up to win? And here's what I'd tell you. To me, the answer is pretty simple. One of my biggest complaints about this real estate industry is I've never seen an industry try so hard to make simple stuff look complicated. That's a different story. Off my soapbox. How would I spot a deal, or what would I do if I wanted to slow things down? There's two things I would really personally focus on. Number one, property type. We already talked about it. Townhomes and condos are taking significantly longer. Single family homes on average 30 days or less, and a lot of the desirable suburbs are sub 20 days. Townhomes are sitting out there for more like 55 days. Condos are closer to 95 days. And they are also taking lower. Townhomes are getting about 98% of list price. Condos are getting about 95% of list price. So one easy, obvious place to start is simply by property type. Townhomes are sitting longer. They are getting less percentage of the total list price. They are an obvious and easy place to start if that's what you're looking for. Obviously, you have to want a townhome. Well, what if you don't want a single family townhome? Here's one real simple rule for you, and I tell all my own seller clients this. As a seller, time on market costs you money. And let me just ask all of you watching this video, let me ask you a question. Have you ever went over to a property that's got 87 days on market, has done 2 price reductions, and given that seller some fantastic $10,000 over their asking price offer? Have you ever done that? You haven't. I know you haven't. And nobody's ever done that, because nobody goes and offers a seller over their asking price when it's been sitting there. So what do? Have your agent set you up on a search to show you only homes that have been on the market, say, for 2 weeks or longer, okay? Time on market costs you money. the longer that home sits out there, the more leverage you have as a buyer. Now, it's important to understand something. This means you might be missing some of the most desirable and most premium homes, because those do, as we talked about, those go very quickly. However, from time to time, there are homes that are absolutely fantastic that will hit the market and sit, and they are usually due to a presentation error to the market. It's usually, number one, it's usually an incorrect list price. And when you get your price wrong, you show your home to the wrong set of buyers and you sit there. Pictures are part of the first impression equation, and they are a very big deal. I see too many I've seen $800,000 listings out there with cell phone pictures. Cell phone pictures do not make a home show well. Okay, so when they get the price, when they get the presentation wrong, that can lead the market to have pause, and that pause is where you can step in. Now, it's important to also remember these homes could also be sitting for a reason, so it's important to do your due diligence, but you will have time with these homes. But that's really where the opportunity lies, my friends. The opportunity lies by market segment, townhomes and condos, and then by taking a look at homes that have been sitting on the market a little bit longer, doing the appropriate level of due diligence, seeing if you can't get some of that leverage on your side and get that home under contract for a price that you feel good about. Well, in a minute here, I'm going to chat about some specific offer strategies I've used with my own buyer clients that I have seen work very well. But just to kind of put a bow on this last section and chat a little bit about how I would approach this if I was a buyer in this market. The first thing is, I'd be very clear on what I am shopping for. If I am looking for that home that is priced right, that is move-in ready, that is in a premium school district, as a buyer, I need to understand that my financing needs to be in order, ready to go, not after you find the house. Ideally, you've got a local lender, not 1-800-GET-A-MORTGAGE. That makes a huge difference all by itself. And you need to be ready to move quickly. You need to be ready to write aggressive offers. You need to be ready to not overthink that listing. And I tell buyers this anyways, get it under contract. You've got right in your inspection period, 5, 6, 7 days, and you can do a lot of that due diligence then, but you have to have it under contract first. So as a buyer, I would just be very clear on what I'm looking for and what I'm thinking about, and then I would set my expectations accordingly. Now, if you're the buyer and you're looking for something that has been sitting out there a little bit longer, maybe you are ready and willing to do a little bit of work, put some sweat equity into that property, I think you can start to slow the process down. You now have time to ask some of those tough questions. You now have a lot more room to negotiate. And there's no wrong answer here, right? It's just really setting your expectations correctly. And this is where it goes back to where we started chatting about. This market is not all the same. It's going to vary based on location, based on school district, and of course, based on the home, the price, how move-in ready it is, all those kinds of things. So if you are a buyer in this market, what are some strategies that you can use, that you can put together to get yourself a bit of a deal? So I'm going to talk to you about 4 that I use with my own clients. I have seen all of these work, and some of these don't even tinker with the purchase price. We are going to try and talk about some things that are not obvious. I'm not going to tell you to increase the purchase price, give the seller more money. I think that's pretty obvious. That can help you win as a buyer. So let's chat about some things that are maybe a little bit less involved with just give them more money. One is earnest money. Minnesota is a very consumer protectionist state. It just is what it is. In my opinion, it's actually way too easy for a buyer to get their earnest money back in Minnesota. They can give a seller a black eye for really no reason and walk away. So how you handle your earnest money is a big deal. Most buyers are going to write the deal. So frankly, if something goes amiss, if the buyer screws up a financing contingency, buyer gets their earnest money back. So if you come in the door with earnest money handled, that it is basically either non-refundable to the seller or much stronger terms, so the seller has a much greater chance to keep your earnest money, that will go a long way. I can tell you for sure that having earnest money that goes non-refundable to a seller is something that is definitely going to make your offer stand out, and the vast majority of people you are competing against are not going to be doing that. I'm not, all of these things we're talking about, right? I'm not advising you to do any of these things. We should just say that. Talking in generalities, these are some things you can do. Number one, make that earnest money go non-refundable to the seller. That's a huge deal. That will make your offer stand out like crazy. Number two, I don't think this is going to be a huge surprise, but there's a bit more to talk about here than maybe the average person thinks, and that is inspections. Vast majorities of buyers are going to be doing a home inspection these days. In 2021, we saw probably at least half of offers come in with no home inspection. That's not the case now. So number one, Writing an offer with no inspection is a huge deal for the seller. I have seen time and time again, including on my own listings, we will take offers that are a little bit lower in price that have no inspection versus a higher offer, because it's peace of mind for the seller. They're going to get every dollar. It does not give the buyer a chance to renegotiate that deal or find a bunch of stuff at the house. But you can do things beyond having either an inspection or no inspection, okay? You can do things like you can write in a dollar amount, and here's what I mean. So on a listing I recently had in Chanhassen, this buyer, they did an inspection, but they wrote right in there that the buyer is not going to ask for anything off the purchase price unless the cost to repair a singular item exceeds $10,000 or more. So that would be something like a roof, a foundation, big ticket items, right? You're telling the seller, if anything's less than 10 grand, I'm not even gonna ask you for it. You are giving that seller much more peace of mind than just, hey, we're gonna do an inspection and we'll see what happens. The other thing I've seen a lot and done with some of my own clients is a pass-fail inspection. It's where you do an inspection, you communicate to the seller that you really like the house and that you are not going to ask for anything. You're gonna do your inspection and you are either going to take this house exactly as it is or you're not. I find that works better, again, than just we're going to do an inspection language, because it usually communicates to the seller you're very serious about the house and you're flat out telling them, I'm not gonna ask you for anything. I'll take this house the way it is or I'll walk away. So that's another option. You can tinker with the way that your inspections are handled. Third thing I've done is a seller rent back, or give a seller post-possession. So what usually happens is, as a buyer, when you close on a property, you go to closing day, you go to the title company, funds are transferred to the seller, and you walk out of there with the keys to the house and you take possession that same day. However, it is possible to give a seller what's called post-possession. Let them stay in the house a week, 2 weeks, a month. It's really up to you, but you can allow them to stay in the home after closing. This does a couple things for the seller. Number one, it gets them their money. They all like money. We all like money. So it puts their check in their hands. Two, it softens their own timeline. Maybe they're moving to a new place, and instead of having to now be out and move into a new place on the same day, if you tell that seller, hey, you can stay in the house a week after closing free of charge, again, big leg up. You are making things easier on your seller. You are extending an olive branch. That is another one of these things I've found to be helpful. Last but not least here, in specific strategies you can do, and I think this one's probably, of the four we're talking about here, I think this will be the most well-known, is you can write an escalator clause into your offer. Couple things about escalators. Number one, not every agent will take them. Not every seller will take an escalator, but a lot of them will. And what an escalator does is it essentially ratchets up your offer in the event of a better offer up to a certain cap. For example, let's say you were offering on a $500,000 home. It's in Minneapolis School District. It's priced right. It looks great. You know it's going to be in multiple offers. So you offer $500,000, but let's say you are comfortable paying all the way up to $525,000. You would put language in your offer that says something along the lines of, in the event of a better offer, this offer will automatically escalate by $2,500 ahead of the next highest and best offer up to the cap, up to $525. So you can put you then have peace of mind that you're not going to suddenly be on the hook for paying $600,000. But that's the idea. In a multiple offer situation, an escalator will automatically allow your offer to essentially negotiate or escalate on your behalf, beating these other offers as they come in. So those are four strategies I have seen work very well, making your earnest money go hard or non-refundable to the seller, going no inspection, or putting in some specific language around the inspection to have that seller have more comfort, talking about a seller rent back or post-possession, and also escalators. These things all work. They are all things I would be considering if I am shopping. Again, single family home, great school district, turnkey, ready to go. You need to have some of these strategies at your disposal. Now, if you're considering buying in Minneapolis, the Western Metro, these suburbs, consider stopping, asking the question, how is the market? And consider more focusing in on really what you want, where it is, because that market is going to be much more relevant and likely a lot different than the Twin Cities market at large. The biggest mistake I have seen out of town and out of state buyers make time and time again, frankly, is this trap of thinking that the Twin Cities market is one uniform animal with similar sets of data and statistics across the board, because it's really not. Nothing could be further from the truth. If you are trying to buy, a townhouse in Brooklyn Park versus a single family home in Edina, both are the Twin Cities market, you're gonna have a wildly different experience through that purchase price, from all the way from the entry point to demand to what it will take to get that property secured. So that's the thing. That is the place where I see out-of-staters go wrong. It's the assumption that the market is very uniform. This market is extremely segmented and very different depending on where you are. This is what I do. I actually love my job. If you guys are considering making a move here, please consider, drop me a line, shoot me a text, fire off an email, whatever works. Contact information is all down below. We'll put it up on the screen right here for you as well. But this market really does, it's not a sales pitch, it really requires some local expertise to understand the property type and where it is, so you end up with a successful purchase and you don't end up overpaying and you don't end up missing on a whole bunch of homes. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful. I'd be curious to know, have any of you guys ever seen or used any, maybe all of those offer strategies? My name is Chris. Like I said, contact information is all right here and down below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.